Final category, trying to take the next step. Minnesota Timberwolves. What's more likely for the Timberwolves? Kevin Durant ends up the one that got away, or it becomes a blessing in disguise to move forward without KD?
That's a great question. One that got away, maybe it's Nickeil Alexander-Walker going to the Hawks, because basically they couldn't figure out a way to pay him, and Julius Randle got a better deal here in Atlanta, and he was a vital player to them. I don't know what to make of the Timberwolves. Like, I thought they had a down first 2/3 of the year, basically last year, and then Julius Randle comes back, looks healthy, and looks like exactly the player they were hoping for when they traded Karl-Anthony Towns. He was good enough as a secondary creator to kind of puncture the defense and create shots for others. He played a really unselfish style of basketball in the playoffs. He was like going at LeBron. He was going at Draymond Green and outplaying both of those guys before ultimately coming up short in the conference finals. But both times that the Timberwolves have gone to the conference finals, I haven't necessarily thought that they were going to end up there. So maybe they're a team that can go to the next level in the playoffs with their defensive identity and Anthony Edwards going to the next level. I do think it would be helpful to have a more reliable second option than Julius Randle, just because he can be an up and down kind of player. And I think you have to start being concerned about when Mike Conley finally takes the last step of his career. And maybe that's this year. There were times last year when he wasn't looking great, and there were times last year when he was giving them exactly what they needed. So the Timberwolves, to me, are a team right now that I'm not totally sure where to slot them. I'm impressed with the way that they're able to perform in the playoffs. I do think their team got a little bit worse this offseason, while the rest of the Western Conference got a little bit better. And I do think it is pretty interesting that one of the teams that's going to be vying for second place in the West behind the Thunder is the Rockets, who were able to make the move for Kevin Durant. So from that standpoint, you could definitely see that coming back to haunt them when, you know, it's KD versus McDaniels, and it's not going the way Anthony Edwards is hoping it would go.
Yeah, I think you mentioned McDaniels. He's one of those guys that you had wished could have taken that leap into becoming that second star behind Anthony Edwards, but he's just more, elite defensive player, but more role player on offense. He hasn't become that guy for them. As Mike Conley has declined as a player, it's only increasing the pressure on Rob Dillingham, who didn't get a lot of opportunities last year, and then on Terrence Shannon, especially with the loss of Nickeil Alexander-Walker, for him to do more of what we saw with the flashes in the postseason. I think aside from Anthony Edwards taking another leap, he takes one every year, it seems like, it's going to come down to Rob Dillingham and Terrence Shannon. Is this team actually addition by subtraction? Not like nothing against Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but simply because of the minutes and touches and opportunity it opens up for Dillingham and Shannon. I think that's the key question with this Minnesota roster. But ultimately, it's still going to come down to Ant. It's still going to be, does Anthony Edwards replicate what he did last year as an improved three-point shooter? Does he come out and shoot the hell out of it again, or does that look like a outlier year? Does he prove that? And also, does he take a leap as a playmaker? Does he take a similar leap as a passer and as a creator for others in the same way that he shockingly did as a shooter last season? And so if Ant does that, he goes from the 6th or 7th best player in the NBA to top 3, top 4 in that conversation. If he's able to make dramatic progress as a playmaker, that is the biggest thing for Minnesota. But I think Dillingham and Shannon, I hope to God Chris Finch plays those guys this year. If he continues still to lean on veterans instead of playing them, I'm going to be so disappointed. I'm sure Tim Connelly, their general manager, would be as well, considering the moves that he made to kind of like force minutes to those young guys. But I think those are the keys from Minnesota, Trey. And to get back to the question, I think it's more likely KD's the one that got away. I just think KD would have been perfect for this team. He's perfect for what they needed. They could have played with different big lineups still with him. They could have played with versatility, would have given them the second star that they needed. They wouldn't have obviously lose a lot defensively without Gobert, but you change who you are. I still think you can be really good defensively. But for it to be a blessing in disguise, it's going to have to be Dillingham, Shannon really coming along this year and next year as well.
Yeah, I liked the Durant fit for the Timberwolves too. I
Would have
think it
been
was going to
so
be
good.
tough to find the perfect team for him. Maybe Houston is the right team, a team that's in the mix right now and trying to take the next step. I think the Timberwolves are there too, where, they're a mix of older and younger players. That's still Ant's team, but they've got vets around them. They're trying to win. I like the idea of KD there. I think it would have been cool, especially since those two guys get along really well. I do buy Ant's shooting. Ever since there was that clip of him, I think it was FIBA World Cup. Maybe it was for the Olympics, where he's shooting corner threes, and since he's shooting it with the FIBA ball, you can see the rotation, and it just looks so perfect. And then he comes out and shoots 40% from 3 on 10 attempts. I buy that. You're right. The playmaking is the next step for him. He can be a good playmaker, but I felt like, especially in the playoffs, it seemed like he had trouble balancing when I should be a playmaker and when I should be Anthony Edwards, the scorer out there. He doesn't have to be Chris Paul or even Mike Conley as a playmaker, but look at what Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is as a player. He can score anytime he wants to, but he gets his teammates involved quite a bit. He added the jumper, and the Thunder became awesome. So once Ant finds the mix, that's how the Timberwolves take the next step, and the young guys are definitely a question mark. I think Shannon will play. He's kind of in his athletic prime right now as an older rookie last season. He actually got an opportunity and produced during the regular season and even in the playoffs. Dillingham, I have more questions about being so young, being such a slight frame. I don't know how he's going to handle the physicality of the playoffs, which is when they would really need him as a secondary ball handler. But the Timberwolves made a big bet on him, trading away a future pick that went to the Spurs. That could have been valuable, or that could still end up being valuable. So they need to see what they have in Dillingham. He needs at least a little bit of a leash here in year 2, and I think he should get one with Alexander Walker being gone, Conley likely taking a step back. There's an opportunity for him. I don't know what it's going to look like, but if he can play and if he can defend, then that's going to be huge for Minnesota.
All right, final question here. Does this retooled Hawks team give Trae Young his best chance to lead Atlanta to the finals?
I think so. This is the best built team around Trae Young from a defenders, wings, shooting standpoint. The Hawks have it all at the 2, 3, 4, even at the 5 position with Porzingis. The question, I think, will be health. Jaylen Johnson has been banged up for the majority of his NBA career. Even in college, he wasn't totally healthy. We know Porzingis is going to miss time. Trae has generally been healthy for the Hawks. I think he was awesome last year, playing the most unselfish style of basketball he ever has, especially when Johnson was healthy. We saw Dyson Daniels take a step forward. I don't know what he looks like as an offensive player, but we know he's great defensively. So the Hawks, to me, are like 8 or 9 deep. They're really flexible. They've got a lot of youth. They've got a lot of versatility. They've got guys who can cover for Trae defensively. I think they got better in the front court, bringing in Porzingis. The question will be, who's healthy for this team come playoff time? And if any of their front court guys miss time during the regular season, is it one at a time? Like, I think they can survive a Jaylen Johnson absence a lot better this season than they did last season. But if it's Johnson and Porzingis happen to miss 15 games at the same time, that could be bad for the Hawks. But I'm optimistic about what Atlanta has built, especially considering how dire it was looking during the DeJounte Murray short-lived experiment when they shipped off a lot of their future picks as well, picks that they still own the Spurs, but that are not looking as bad now that the Hawks have A, gotten better, and B, did the deal with the Pelicans. So the Hawks can go full speed ahead trying to win, knowing they don't have their pick, but they're still going to likely get a lottery pick going forward. So I think for one summer on the job, Ansi Sala did an awesome job. I think the Hawks have to be one of the big winners of the offseason. And yeah, now the pressure to me is completely on Trae Young. We've given you your best team on both sides of the ball. You're in your prime as a player. You're an awesome offensive hub. Let's see if this can turn into team success or if it somehow equals 41 wins again.
I think you nailed it completely. I mean, I agree with every word of you. The pressure now turns to Trae Young. Can you elevate this team in the same way that you have elevated players in the past? as a shot creator, as a player, but can you do it in a winning context? Can you toggle between scoring and playmaking in an efficient manner? Because that's the one thing about Trae. I mean, as great as he is as a passer, his scoring efficiency has dipped a lot in recent years compared to his best season of his career in 21-22 season, where he had the best season of his career. Since then, he has not met that efficiency as a scorer from 3-point range or from mid range or from at the rim for that matter. And so with Trae, can he have the best season of his career, and can he elevate this team, continuing to put his all into defense? I give him credit there. He has improved his effort defensively. He's still a liability because he's tiny on that end, but he's at least competing. And now he has the right supporting pieces around him. The Hawks have front court flexibility. Okongwu as well continues to get better each season. So you put him with Kristaps Porzingis, and you have different ways you can play out there. You have Jaylen Johnson, hopefully stays healthy all year. I'm excited to see what they look like, and not to mention Ricochet entering year 2 after some of the flashes in the second half of the season, especially Dyson Daniels, his second year with Atlanta after his great year last year. So I think with Atlanta, I'm optimistic about what they can be. Are they finals contenders? I don't think so, compared to New York or Cleveland or even Orlando for that matter. But I think they're going to be really competitive, and there's an outside possibility that they make a deeper run. But I do think it's their best chance. And the pressure is indeed on Trae Young, as you said, Trey.